I thought we were live the entire time.
Every song is a fucking journey.
This is the worst tour I've ever done.
Anthony Crawford says Gene Simmons is crazy.
Black Album was one of the greatest fucking records of all time.
Dude, that dude is crazy. Rock and roll ain't dead.
Metal was banned.
What was the reason why it was banned?
Politics and religion.
Next record's 3-chord rock. Yeah, we're gonna do an AC/DC record.
When we do the next record take, we need to interview the producer and just make sure that they're not gonna invade the Capitol.
I'm gonna keep my opinions to myself.
Thank you so much!
This is why I get banned from tours.
Nobody does anything to get anyone in trouble. Like, no alcohol is consumed on the bus.
Just yoga and prayers.
Welcome, Jack.
Hello,
Glad to
hello.
have you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
That sure was an intro. That was awesome.
Yeah. We always remind ourselves of all the terrible things we've done with having a videographer around at all times.
Yeah, it can be quite dangerous.
Not everything makes it.
How are you doing today, man?
I'm good. You know, I just got back a few days ago from a string of like 3 shows, and so recovering well. I managed to get sick for 1 day, and then now I'm totally fine. So we're back to it full force. How are you guys?
Oh, it's bound to happen. 3 days. Were you doing that with were you doing with the main band? Or you just
Yeah, with Spires. Cool. My only band.
Oh, your only band. Cool. Okay.
Yeah. We did a festival in Chicago, a smaller festival called Legions of Metal. And then we did a one-off show with Epica in New York City, which was super, super fun. And then we did Rock and Roadheim in Germany to cap it off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was weird, like being gone for that many days, but it only being like 3 shows. So there was so much downtime. It was like really bizarre.
Yeah. What was the highlight of those 3 shows? Which one?
Oh, I mean, German beer is hard to beat, but and also at that German show, we had pyro for the first time. It was like festival pyro. So it was unexpectedly going off, and that was very fun, very exciting. But that festival actually was really cool because the guy who runs it also runs like a clinic or a care facility for severely disabled people. So it's like a super inclusive festival. They had like all these big handicap areas with like elevated risers and stuff, and ice cream vendors and like all this crazy shit at the festival. It was awesome. And they were super nice to us, and I think it was 2,000 or 3,000 people, and we had a great line after the show to sign stuff. So that's kind of the real fun part for me, at least, is getting to meet people and like find out why they do stuff, and why we're all there aside from all loving music. So that was the highlight of it for me, and food, drink, and nice people.
Yeah, Germany rules, man. Germany's such an awesome spot for
just kind of very passionate heavy metal fans in Germany.
Yeah, it's still going
What
strong
part of
out
Germany
there
was it?
too.
I think we were a little north of Hanover. I don't have a good sense of direction because we were like shuttled from the airport in Hanover to the festival. It was about an hour, so we were within an hour radius of Hanover.
Oh, that's cool, man. I bet the Epica show was pretty great too, man. I think they're killing it, right? Like with what was the venue in New York?
Irving Plaza.
Oh,
was.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we played there before. That was really nice. Epica's like a legendary band, and it was cool to finally play with them. And it was definitely like a throw and go show. So it was, they're just flying in, trying to set up, and we're like, fingers crossed we get a sound check. And, it doesn't always happen that way, but that was also super nice. And we haven't played a lot in the US lately, so a lot of people traveled too, and that was great.
We just in, I guess it was October, we were out with Angra in Europe, and it was the first night something got really screwed up, and we were in Portugal in Porto, and like everything just got pushed back by 2 hours, and like we were literally doing a line check as people were coming in like they were like a cattle call out there, which
Brutal,
was just terrible. It was not cool.
Yeah. That's really tough. But
Didn't they
that's
have
why
them
they pay
behind,
us
like,
the big bucks.
They had them behind like police tape, so like they had like 30 yards away from the stage. They're all corralled there like cows.
Wow.
It's
What,
still-
the audience?
yeah.
They let them halfway into the venue, which is, I don't understand that choice, but it was funny. We're like up there just naked, like, and the audience is just there like behind these like barricades 50 feet away or whatever.
And then like, then we have to leave for like 2 minutes and then come right back on and, start the show. So it's like, that looks really great. Whatever.
Yeah.
What was it just you guys in Epica?
Yeah, it was just us. I think they did like 3 shows, so it's they did New York, Atlanta, and LA.
Oh wow.
And it was they just picked like one band from the general region for each of those.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. Congrats, you guys were able to get that, man, because that's gonna be that's a big that band does so well.
Oh, thank you very much, man.
Yeah.
It was it was Milton who runs Prog Power who was doing the tour managing, and he put our name in the hat and kind of got us that one. So if you're watching,
awesome,
thank you, Milton. Everybody go buy your tickets for Prog Power.
Yeah. And how was the show in Chicago, the festival?
That was a really cool one too. Much smaller thing in a small club, and it was like more of a trad metal fest with some outliers, like a lot of trad metal, a lot of power metal. Except that the day we were on, the headliner was Toxic Holocaust, and so we were playing right before Toxic Holocaust. And having never played this festival before, it was kind of like, is this going to work? Like, what are we going to be weird? And, if everybody's here to see this thrash band basically headlining, what should we do? And we had the idea to play like an only like balls to the wall heavy set. And that went over super, super well. So it was an hour of like basically only death metal. And, it's cool because a lot of people think of us as a power metal band just because of some of the singles, and that's like a bit of a texture, but like there's a lot more to it, and it was fun to do some more extreme stuff and kind of surprise people a little.
Yeah, that's cool because you guys have that. It's there's quite a bit of genre blending going on with it that you can like adjust with whatever festival you're on, which is cool because I think that it opens up more doors. More doors in a way that's like, okay, we could play a heavier festival, if we do these songs.
Our band have that in common too. Like we have to do the same thing. Like
you're like saying that about me, and you guys are doing the same thing. But
it's like, oh my god,
you know how it is. It keeps it fun too. Like playing the same kind of thing. At least, I mean, you're great musicians as well. So it's like if you're doing the same thing over and over again all the time, you get a little bored if you're not pushing yourself. So it's fun, keeps it interesting, and it's important to the overall picture of the art as well. If we're going to go down that direction.
Well, you guys have long songs structures too. So like when you're doing like an opening set, it's like 4 songs can fill the whole fucking thing.
Sometimes we have 10-minute songs, and then we have 3-minute pop songs, and it's kind of what do you want to do?
Yeah, and I imagine the fans, the diehards that come out and see you, they're going to want those bigger epic songs, right? So it's like you got to try to like pick the battles in between on what you want to do, especially for those opening slots,
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of factors that go into it, and like people, I feel very fortunate because there are a lot of bands that like, the audience shows up and they want to hear the singles, the big hit single, or they want to hear, only the first album or something like that. But it seems like no matter what we do, even if it's a roll of the dice, people appreciate it. Like they like deep cuts. They like things we don't play live that often. They also like the big epics when we want to do, 2 songs and a 10-minute one for an opening slot, and however it seems to shake out, people sort of dig it. So I appreciate that a lot.
For like the Epica, the gig you guys just did, because it was just you guys. Were you able to have like an hour-long set? What was the set time?
It was 45 minutes, so it wasn't
good,
quite an hour, but it was still significant. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's nice.
Not
You know,
bad.
when you get that.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah. Very cool,
Yeah.
man.
That was great because like the whole point was they're doing an exhibition show for their brand new album, and it's the first time that anybody had heard stuff from that album. So there were a lot of like really diehard Epica fans there, and that had never heard of us before. Like hardly anybody was there for us. But then afterwards, the merch line is ridiculous. And, so that's
what you want.
Why
Yeah,
you do that?
absolutely.
Thing is,
Yeah, absolutely.
exactly.
You want new ears.
Where are you guys all based in the same city, or are you guys kind of like spread out? all
We're
over?
pretty spread out.
Okay.
Yeah. We all met in Boston, and so that's kind of why the website says the band is based in Boston, and because we all went to school together, but we've since spread out back home. Pete's in Vermont now. I'm in South Carolina. Adrian, when she's home, is in Texas or Norway, but like she's gone like 7 months out of the year, so who knows? And our new drummer Dylan is from Toronto, so we're finally international as well.
Yeah, wow, you guys are really. I thought we were bad.
Yeah, no. But God bless the internet. We can still get it done.
Yeah. And how do you guys go about like rehearsing for those like 3 shows? Do you guys where do you guys like meet up at? Where's like the home base?
Yeah, it depends. This time we actually booked a rehearsal space in Chicago for like quite a few days before the show, because it's also that was our rehearsal for the whole rest of the year. So we've got a tour coming up in October, and we're doing Wacken Open Air this year. So we're rehearsing like all of the material for the rest of the year for like 5 days. So that was like a real, set up and hit it really, really hard, and just hope that it's good for the rest of the year.
Well, you have some shows as practice shows.
Yeah.
What stage are you guys doing at Wacken?
I'm not sure. I don't know how much info we actually even have yet.
Have you played Wacken?
I assume not the big one.
Wacken, dude, is just unbelievable, man. That's
what I hear. I'm gonna bring my mud boots.
Yeah. You'll need those.
Yeah, and that's one of those things for me that like ever since I became aware that like bands and music were a thing, I'd see like Nightwish DVDs from Wacken or Arch Enemy or these big bands that I looked up to, and that's the first one that people go, oh, I want to do that one. So it feels super nice to finally check that off the list at some point, and then also because it's my band, music that I helped write, something that I built from the ground up. It's like that extra level of gratifying of like hey mom, I did it.
Yeah, totally. That's great, man. So are you guys doing more festivals after Wacken or before? Because Wacken tends to be like later, like that's around August, I think, right?
Yeah, it's almost at the end. So we'll do Wacken, and then either 1 or 2 other festivals in Spain. We're doing Leyendas del Rock and maybe one more. I can't remember if that stayed in the calendar or not. But at least those 2, and from now until then, we're pretty much working on new album stuff. So
nice. Right
yeah, you guys know how it is. It's like, what are you doing next? Well, it's either an album or it's shows.
Right. If you're lucky,
Yeah,
exactly. And you can talk about the shows.
Yeah, that's the other part.
So with the tour that you guys are going out on, has that been announced yet? Like, can you talk about that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. We're going out supporting Ad Infinitum, who are an absolutely fantastic band. If you haven't heard of them, so they're doing their first headline tour of Europe, and we're supporting. And also, Phantom Elite is going to be out with us. And that'll be kind of a shorter, I think 2.5 weeks worth of shows, like maybe 16 or 18 shows or something like that. But
I was shocked that you guys were actually supporting them. I thought you were like around the same size band, because they haven't, what do they have, like one record, and then she's been doing like
4 or 5,
stuff.
I think.
Do they? I
Yeah,
did not
yeah,
heard
yeah.
of them. I've never heard of them before, like this last year.
That's so interesting. I remember when their debut video came out like years and years ago, and it like blew up immediately, like millions of views. And
What year was it?
I don't even remember. I can check my iTunes library if we need to
Oh, God.
double check. But yeah, I mean, we ended up playing with them. When was it? I don't even remember. Anyway, they were nice enough to invite us out, and we played with them with Camelot. That's what happened. Because Mel, their singer, was doing guest vocals for the latest Camelot album.
Yeah.
And so they were out supporting, and Hammerfall was going to be direct support, but they couldn't make it, I guess, for a visa reason for the first 4 shows. So they asked us to step in. That's where we met them, and we all, just immediately got along, and they're fantastic players and performers. And so I hear that's going to be kind of like nice people and really good players, the tour. So I'm excited.
That's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you guys doing a like a bus share type situation for that tour?
Probably, yeah. Like a nightliner and everybody on one thing. That seems to be the norm over in Europe, which is always really fun, because it's so sad when you show's over, gear's loaded out, everybody goes their separate ways, their tiny vehicles, and then you see each other again when it's time to work. And it's also just it makes it so much more comfortable, and like having the bus, and it's pretty standard out there too. It's also great because it's like the drivers, they don't need to get hotel rooms, they have their own little like part of it. Having a bunk, dude, is like a game changer,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's the way to go. It's just so goddamn expensive here in the States for it, for those buses. So, but in Europe, it's so nice too, just to be able to like wake up, you're in the city that you need to be, you can do your own thing.
You can actually have like time to go see things, because you don't need to drive from like the truck stop outside the city to the venue and then spend 2 hours finding parking and
I know.
But it's great too, because those tours where everybody's all on the same vehicle, before it's time to go to bed, while everybody's winding down, there's a lounge where everybody can just hang out and talk, and that's where the real getting to know people and the friendships are forged, and it's just such a nicer vibe than only seeing people during work hours.
Yeah, very true.
Actually, some band members end up you find out you want them to leave from those bus hangouts.
Well, yeah, that's I'm sure that can be the case too.
So who were your influences, man? What was like for guitar playing from the very beginning, songwriting? Like how'd you all start?
Oh yeah. Well, as a guitar player, at least I can do that first, because that's an easier list. My first main influence then and still was Michelangelo Badio, who's
really? Okay.
I'm not sure how familiar you are. He's the guy who plays the 2 guitars at the same time.
Nitro.
Yeah, Nitro. He plays with Manowar now, which is super cool. But yeah, I was always a little bit musical. I played classical viola for quite some years in lower school and middle school. And when I picked up a guitar for the first time after playing Guitar Hero, the video game, it was maybe I should get a real one. But when I really started taking it seriously was after I saw that at my local music store, Michelangelo Badio was doing a clinic. And I was like, there's no way the YouTube guy is going to show up at the local store. Famous people don't come to my town. And I was this little 11-year-old kid. And but yeah, he was there. I saw just the most insane guitar playing ever in front of my face, in a small area. And I was like, I didn't know that was possible. I want to be like that. And I had the great pleasure afterwards of actually, Mike's a super awesome guy, super down to earth. He stays after every one of his shows to talk to every single person who wants a photo or, you know, something signed or anything. So he's there until the last person leaves. And I thought that was super cool. And so I kind of got to meet him, and we stayed in touch over the years. And he mentored me a little bit, sent me a bunch of instructional DVDs. And so I have to give him a lot of credit.
That's awesome.
And then the rest of the list is all the standard shredders, you know, Satriani, Steve Vai, Jeff Loomis. The list goes on and on. And band-wise as well, a lot of crossover, like Michael Amott from Arch Enemy, huge fan. I copy his stage moves all the time. And when I got to school in Boston and met Adrian, actually was kind of my like, you know, band guy, songwriter awakening. Before that, I always had wanted to be like a solo musician, because that's just the world that I knew that was cool. You know, I wanted to be Steve Vai and have my own band and go around and just be a guitar player. But she really turned me on to so much music that I didn't know existed in the symphonic metal realm. Like I'd heard of Nightwish before, and that's about it. But she introduced me to Camelot and like heavier bands like Flesh God Apocalypse and, you know, Swallow the Sun and these other kind of like super emotional European metal bands that were doing such unique and interesting music. And that totally shifted my focus away from like just being the guitar guy to being interested in writing songs that, you know, hooked people or meant something. And it turns out we had really great writing chemistry too. So that was kind of the birth of Seven Spires. Just like she had all these songs together that were awesome, and then I added my own thing to them, and then we started writing together, and that became the first Spires album. And it took us a little while to get the lineup together. And then, you know, we found Peter and Christovis, our former drummer, who was with us for a super long time. And we just recently brought Dylan in, and it's very similar where, you know, it's become something where the four of us have such strong individual influences. And then when we bring all of those things together, it feels like the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts, you know? I could never come up with a bass line or a bass hook or a drum fill that's better than what those guys can do. And that's the part that makes it really special for me.
Dude,
I hope that answered the whole question. That was quite a rant.
No, that was great. Let me ask this one question because I wanted to go back to the Michelangelo thing. But when you guys write, do you guys do it all? Is it traded stuff online, like, you know, over emails, or are you guys getting into a room together? And I'm sure you probably have the whole demo out done, or do these guys hear it first in the studio? Like how exactly does that work?
All good questions. It would start with some individual writing of ideas of, you know, even just sections or, you know, a chorus hook or a string line or something like that. And we kind of, when we have time individually, just collect like song seeds, if you know that term, to be messed with later. But I think we've kind of discovered through trial and error that the best stuff comes with me and Adrian getting in a room together and like working on stuff in tandem in person. And she's got this like mothership orchestration rig that is like, you know, nothing beats it. So I'm there with my guitar just plugged in, and she's driving and, you know, doing all this crazy shit in real time. And we've gotten pretty efficient at it. So the bulk of the songs and the character of the songs will come from that. And then from there, we'll send it to the other guys in basic, you know, drum program form, and just say, you know, what do you think? Any ideas? And they'll come up with their parts and what they think, and, you know, maybe say this needs more here, this needs less of that there. And then we'll go through revisions and just kind of go like that until everybody's like, yeah, this is sick.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, it's so much of Adrian's particular genius that is important to maintain, at least in my opinion. So sometimes it's like, I don't really know about this one. Like, what do you think where's this going to end up? And she'll give me the, trust me, it's going to be good. And then we just roll with that. And then in recording, it comes together. So yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it. And every once in a while, something will come from a different way. Like it'll just be, her having an idea for an entire song and taking a day to sit down and do the whole thing. And then nobody needs to touch it because it's great. But the bulk of things I say are more collaborative.
Very cool. When you guys did your last record, where'd you guys record at?
Right here, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Except for the drums, the drums we borrowed a friend who is also a Berkeley professor's cabin in the woods in New Hampshire. And we set the drums up there, and a friend of mine had, a whole bunch of microphones and gear. And so we set up in this cabin and just recorded the drums there. And that was super fun and like almost more of like a vacation. So we did the drums there, and then the rest of the stuff was done either here or Adrian orchestrating at home, or Peter recorded his own parts at his apartment at that point as well. So yeah, a lot of DIY recording.
No, it's very cool to do it like out in the middle of nowhere with the drums.
Yeah. It's we in the past had done, the shop for studios and stuff, and we recorded at a small studio. We checked out a bigger studio that was like, $600 an hour or whatever the hell it was at the time. And they had all the gear and had all the, the staff and the accolades and whatever, but they didn't really know metal that well. So it was like, do we risk it, or do we do it in a way that we know is going to be probably pretty solid? So that is how it panned out, and it worked pretty well, I think. And then now I've gone down the rabbit hole of, album production, mixing, mastering, and all that. And that's my other job now. So the most recent album is the first one that, from demo to final masters, was all me. And so,
wow.
Yeah. Now hope, unless I get ill or like really fed up or burnt out, we'll probably do it that way from now on.
Yeah, that's an undertaking right there, man. Especially from seeing it from the beginning all the way,
Oh yeah.
Does your partner come in and do they have like other says on like the mixing and stuff like that, or is it all just do they kind of leave it up to you for? Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially with us, everybody has a strong opinion on what they think both they should sound like and what songs should feel like, and things that annoy you that don't annoy other people. So the collaborative effort, I think, is really important. Like especially
even on the mix, you do it on
even
the mix.
On what?
You let them.
I think especially on the mix, there's like a certain amount of quality threshold that like once you reach, this is a great mix, then there's so much room to play around, I think. And it's I think if you start moving things and the mix falls apart, that means that there's something wrong and not just a taste thing. So it's tough. Every once in a while it's like, the bass player wants to hear the bass louder. Oh, louder than that. Maybe we can, find but that's like simple shit, I don't think I've ever gotten notes from them that were anything ridiculous. It's kind of like, there's a flute line that's really important as a counter melody to the lead vocal part, and I don't hear that. And I'm like, oh shit, how did I miss it? Flute up, done,
Yeah, right.
So, but I think it's also really important to all be on the same page from the get-go, and like as I'm recording things and as I'm building the record, like the things that I'm sending out for people to listen to are like in the ballpark, so nobody's surprised by anything later, and that helps a lot. Then it's kind of
what was Jake, remember like the first record, Sagan, like our first drummer that passed away, he kept insisting that we put a thunderclap on the downbeat of like this interlude section. Like it was like ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean it was. Yeah,
I just did that for a band.
Sometimes when you get too many cooks in the kitchen, it's like the soup can get a little wacky. So it's like
hey, my mute button finger is powerful.
or the classic, there's always a tale where it's like, hey, can you turn that one thing up, 1 dB? And they're like, what? And then they're like, did it, and then they're like, yeah, that it's perfect. And it's like, wasn't even touched. It was like, just,
You gotta have the fake fader.
Yeah, the fake fader.
But you just move it, and then their ears go, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's way better.
Yeah. I've never found that works with experienced bands and people like that. I feel like that's such a local band doing their first record kind of thing, where they aren't used to how their own playing and their music sounds, so they just want like more of stuff. And I think like if you've ever done like 2 or 3 records, you kind of know what to expect. And then usually the notes that I'm getting are like important ones where it's, they really care about how the song sits and feels. And, even if it gets frustrating sometimes, I can always look back on those things and think, yeah, it made it better. Or at least it made it more true to them as the artist.
You'd be surprised at how unsophisticated some of your heroes are. They don't know anything. They're literally like, they're bottled lightning. They don't know anything. It's just like they happen to have a thing, and that's it. Like,
yeah, the thing that always gets me with mixes too is listening back to them like throughout over years, and then just being like, wow, that was not as great as I thought, or oh, that was better than I thought. It's like or damn, that one idea that I really wanted, I probably shouldn't have pushed for. Like that shit kind of just changes. It's also like perspective, I guess. As you get, so it's never gonna ever be perfect. Which is
and that's the beauty of art as well. I think. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The volume's a little screwy.
Oh no.
I think that, like, a song or an album or a recording, even if we just say a recording of something, is a snapshot of hopefully the best you can do at that point in time. Yep. And if you think about it that way, it's like, there's stuff with like our second album, I did a lot of the recording for the first time, and it didn't really turn out the way that I thought it would or wanted it to. But we had a great mixing engineer for that one, Sasha Payeth, and he really made the songs come to life in the way that they should have. And so when I think of how I kind of messed up on that one versus how the thing came out, it is that. It's a picture of the best that we could do, polished by someone who really knew what they were doing. And the point is that people like the songs and they feel good. And that's it. There's no such thing as a perfect record. And you want it to just do the right job and not be like a testament to perfection forever.
Right. Yeah,
well, I have a video of 7 Spires here. Let's tell us a little bit about this song, Love.
Oh, yeah, this is the most recent video that we put out, music video. It's a song from our most recent album, A Fortress Called Home, and the song is called Love Souvenir. It's kind of insane, one of the more insane musical ideas that we've had, but
that was intense.
I cut out. I let the below the line credits roll because I hate when people walk out before the credits are over in movies.
Yeah, that was really cool, man. There was a lot going on, and I liked your mix with that a lot, with all of the different. I mean, there's a ton of different instrumentation and stuff going on there that make that super difficult.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy arrangement. Like even just the first section is like almost like a cocktail kit, jazz band, upright bass, little bit.
Yeah,
of
I thought that was really
stuff.
Cool. That's an interesting thing that you don't really see a lot in this sort of music.
And every section is like a totally different arrangement and a totally different mix. Like it goes from that to like almost all synths and vocoders and orchestra, and then symphonic death metal. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I love that kind of challenge as a mixer, as a recording engineer, as a guitar player too. Like, what do you do in that?
Yeah.
Gravity blasts and cellos.
Absolutely. And French horns. Never forget the French horns are the
Dude, I
crying
love
fader.
French horns. That's the intro to The Shining, man. Is the French horns?
Yeah, there you go.
So
A
great.
man of taste, I see.
So you you guys met in Boston? You were
Yeah,
saying, right?
yeah. We're aside from Dylan, who's the new guy, we're all Berkeley kids. So.
Oh, did you
Yeah.
study with Joe Stump?
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Come on,
the,
man. Yeah.
the guy who taught me everything else that I know.
Yeah, that's Joe's awesome, man. That's really cool,
Yeah,
man. So
he's the best, nicest
what-
guy on the planet too.
when did you attend Berkeley?
I graduated in 2016, so I must have started in 2012.
2012. Did you graduate with a guitar? What was your degree? Guitar
Performance.
Performance, yeah.
Yeah. So guitar. Yeah, it's just out of frame. My very expensive piece of paper is right up
Oh,
there.
right. That's great, man. What were some breakthroughs you had at Berkeley during that? I mean, or was there anything that was like truly just like holy shit? I mean, amongst just some of those, just having some of those musicians too, they're scary as hell, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's such an awesome question, and I think I could talk for a whole another hour about just that. And so I think, firstly, probably the most important thing for me as as a musician, as a songwriter, not just as a guitar player, I had an awesome teacher for what they called harmony class, like one of the first basic level, music theory classes. And his name was Omar Thomas. Young guy, huge nerd, Zelda tattoo, and he was a big band orchestrator as well.
Okay.
And he had such an awesome way of teaching everything. So he would explain a concept and explain not just how something works in theory, but he would try and coach us on how to think about how a chord or a line feels. And this chord or this tension or this extension feels a certain way, and encouraged us to develop kind of our own our own opinions on those things as well. But he would bring in stuff like Coldplay or like any of these kind of pop culture things and say they used that here and that's why this feels the way that it does. And to me, that was such an eye opener, because before that it was riffs and shred and cool stuff, and then I was kind of like, this is the building block for actually really reaching people in a certain way, or at least expression with the hope to reach someone in a certain way. So that was a huge deal for me. And I remember asking him at one point, like I had him a couple times in the more advanced classes. We were into jazz theory and stuff, and all these like really crunchy chords and stuff, and Bill Evans piano pieces. And I was kind of like, I'm like a rock and metal guitar player. Like, how would I apply this stuff in what I do? And he was like, I don't know, man. Like, you're kind of shit out of luck with that kind of distortion. And he was just being honest about it. And then I remember at one point writing the first album with Adrian, and she's doing this stuff in the orchestra while I'm doing more, heavy metal stuff. And I was like, this is the way to do it, is like, now we have clean acoustic instruments putting this kind of complex harmony in a metal context, and it actually works. It doesn't just sound like noise. And so that's my big tip of the hat to Omar as a composer, as a teacher, is like, I finally figured it out, man. Thank you.
Yeah. that stuff. I mean, we could have a whole podcast just talking about that. God. Like, I could go on and on about. I that's my favorite thing is chordal harmony, and the what you can do with it too. The single string stuff too, which I would actually argue, which is not harmony with it, but I feel like the heavy metal stuff sometimes can actually open up more into that, because you basically just have like let's just see, you almost have a drone behind it, and I can make that major, minor, diminished, whatever I kind of want to, and then open up that entire field of the different modes that can go on top of that. Now, subject to taste, whether it's going to sound good over the part and make sense, But
yeah, or it
it's-
even sometimes it
open
doesn't
to
have
it.
to sound good. It just has to like be uncomfortable, or
it can make that feel for sure. Yeah,
exactly.
How the different modes, certainly, go with which thing we're doing. Lydian's gonna have its own flavor, versus if we're gonna end up decide to do a Phrygian thing, or whatever. You know?
Absolutely. And that's one of the really nice things about not only having studied that kind of stuff in a jazz context or like in a general music context, but also working with someone like Adrian or someone like Peter. Peter's like a fantastic jazz bassist, and he's done all these gigs with like Manouche Jazz trios and this. So he's like also got a great understanding of this and can bring these things into his bass writing, not to mention Adrian's orchestration and piano playing as well. Like it's just, I'm gushing a little bit about my bandmates, but that's kind of what lets me do more traditional metal stuff and like not worry about it, is that I have these other painters, slapping flat 13s and different kind of shit all over my power chords. It's great.
Which is always really cool to have them be addressed with a different voice. I think sometimes it even makes it work out a little bit better.
And especially with the texture that people are familiar hearing that kind of sound with. Like film scores and jingles in radio and TV shows and stuff like that. Like people are familiar with the sound of an orchestra or a acoustic anything or a piano doing those kind of things, but you put it in metal and it like kind of almost always sounds like Opeth,
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like for sure that can be definitely examined like that. It can sound like that way, It's the real hard one is trying to find something that sounds interesting and new. Like that's kind of like what becomes like the real hard one to really kind of get down. That's also exciting, for people and palatable. There are a lot of, I think, some bands out there that try to do some stuff that's a little wacky for the sense of being that way, just the sound, and it for at least for me, it doesn't really hit home like emotionally.
Totally.
And I think that's
I have a very similar opinion on this. That like if you're chasing uniqueness or something new, it's not gonna land so much as if you're just chasing expressing and what you think is cool and borrowing things that you think are cool from other people. And it like I feel like it's such a band like Animal Leaders, whether you like them or not, is such a good example of this. Like none of those guys started doing all of the like out of the box crazy shit that they were doing to be unique. They did it because they thought it was cool when a bass player was doing it or someone else was doing it. So they took those things and turned it into something that basically was unheard of at the time. They have such a unique sound and influence so many other people. And, I'm not like the biggest fan of them specifically, but it's hard to not respect that kind of like wide influence that it's had on modern guitar playing and modern music.
It 100% has, and it's changed a lot. Like you have those bands, you can see the ones that come down like the Polyphia. Sorry. And
I think that's two bands that you just mentioned in one word.
Pellini and Polyphia. That's not really my
Periphery
my thing.
And Polyphia.
Yeah, I mean they're great for what they do, but that's not really my my cup of tea. But like that was totally influenced by that. It was a new thing that came around about that,
exactly.
And I feel like that's just kind of like where the evolution kind of goes, And
totally, yeah. There are so many guitar players. I mean, we were talking about Ad Infinitum earlier. Their guitar player, also named Adrian, is that kind of player. Like he's like the headless H string, like super progressive, but also has a jazz background. So he's got the singing melody and the super tight metal rhythms, but then he also has this really Pliny kind of flavored thing, and I think that's so awesome, and I will leave other people who are awesome at that to do that, and I just get to kick back and listen to it and enjoy.
Right. Are you a Holdsworth fan?
A little bit. I missed a lot of the fusion stuff.
Okay.
I kind of came into later things, and ended up then migrating into this, trying to learn all the symphonic metal things ever.
Right.
So I kind of got pushed more into an older school direction, actually, which is funny.
Yeah, because it's like two different worlds there with it. Because it's like the symphonic stuff still is like I imagine Joe Stump and then like Jason Becker and the cacophony and all that kind of stuff is that's. For me personally, I lean kind of more towards that. I love the neoclassical stuff. It's the 80s.
Me too. That's like what I was learning when I first started playing. You know, I have such a deep respect for the other stuff, but that's kind of where my heart lies.
Mm-hmm.
And even with studying jazz, it was like the only reason I felt like I was studying jazz is to make me a better player, not necessarily because I love that type of music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think both are important. You know, there's so much to be learned from stuff that's not your favorite thing ever, but doing your favorite thing ever is what keeps you passionate and what keeps you wanting to move forward.
I mean, when I was at music college, it was the same. It was kind of like pushed a little bit more towards the jazz way, because it's just also about, you know, you're learning the improvisation type stuff and overdose chords. It's just more of that vocabulary that you kind of have to have. And but at the same time, it's like I think it's kind of it rings true what you're saying. It's like I'm learning this because I know it's going to make me a better player, but it's not like there's not like a lot of emotional connection to it where I'm like, oh my god, like I'm not going to go to bed until I get this part down, you know?
Yeah. And there are so many people that I know, and I mean, Pete's a good example of this. Is like the more I trespass into that world, the more I feel like I'm doing a disservice to people who like live and breathe that vocabulary in that art form. It's like, I just feel like more of an amateur when I see, you know, more people who really do that like in a serious way. It's a vocabulary, and it's a way of thinking and a way of playing that you can't fake, and you have to train yourself to develop. And I just never got far, you know, because it's not my favorite thing in the world.
Right. Yeah, and it's I mean you're absolutely right. It's like those people that do train like that, they have the same what you have for symphonic metal, they have for the jazz world. And that's what they
I hope so, at least.
Yeah. But well, cool, man. I gotta run now, man. But it's you know what, man? We should do another one of these and talk more about the music theory aspect, and whatever listeners we have right now, we'll diminish those by 7 of them by talking way more about music harmony.
We're on the same booking agency now. We have the same agent in Europe, so I'm sure we're going to be seeing each other at some point in the near future.
Yeah, so sounds good.
Yeah, I'd love to play shows with you guys, man. I really like your band. I like what you guys are doing, and obviously I like anything that's a little dark.
Yeah, you're in South Carolina too, man. I want to.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about. I want to go out there and take a trip out there. So I might hit you up for some recommendations. You know.
Cool. Maybe sounds good. I know all the best places with the least drunken college kids.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah. If you wanna know where the best place to golf with geriatrics is, I'm your man.
Well, also the Michelin Guide or the Michelin Guide just got added to South Carolina, so I'm interested in seeing those. That's my other passion is just eating. So
that's awesome. Okay, my people will call your people.
Yeah.
I want in on this.
Right on, man. Hey, thanks again for doing it, man. And congratulations on the new record, man. That last track was very, very cool, man. And that's really awesome that you mixed all that by yourself, man. I'm sure that also helps the pocketbook, you know? Maybe not your sanity, but, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, another very, very lucrative business, mixing metal bands. But, it's another thing that I just fell in love with. But anyway, thank you guys for having me. It was great to catch up, great to talk to you. Jake, I think this is the most we've talked ever. Like, we always kind of...
Yeah, have we met in person? Because it would have been... It
would have been at Prog Power or at NAMM for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, both those, man. I'm
Hey,
sorry
Sam.
for being rude if I didn't remember for that,
no.
but this was awesome, man. I look forward to talking to you more, man. Because
Likewise. Yeah, let's do another one sometime.
Alrighty, man.
Let's-
Sounds good, Jack.
Stay tuned for the outro, and Jack, I'll hit you up soon.
Sounds good.
Take care, man. Bye bye.
Take care, guys. See ya.
Sometimes the world no longer needs a hero. Sometimes what it needs is a monster. Sometimes the world no longer needs a hero. Sometimes what it needs is a monster.